This Jeffrey Epstein story is gone way off the rails for Donald Trump and the Republican Party, and let's talk about it. So I will admit I did not think that this was the story that was going to expose the rifts within the Make America Great Again movement, but here we are. Donald Trump clearly doesn't want to talk about this. Now, we can debate why, but he doesn't want to talk about this. He put out a long Truth Social post over the weekend basically saying everyone needs to move on. Pam Bondi's great, and I don't understand why anyone cares about this. That did not go over well with the MAGA influencer base. They actually ratioed Donald Trump's Truth Social post, more comments than likes, basically saying, how could you say that? Like, there's obviously more here and you're hiding something. So what I don't know is how Donald Trump and Pam Bondi and Kash Patel and Dan Bongino get out of this cul-de-sac that they have driven into, right? Because I don't know that just letting it disappear or wither on its own is going to work. They've tried that for the last week, right? Last Monday is when that Department of Justice and the FBI put out a memo essentially saying, like, Epstein killed himself. Epstein didn't have a client list. Epstein didn't blackmail anyone, right? And that didn't work at all, right? I mean, that fanned the flames, not put the flames out. So, the question is, so Trump comes out on Saturday, I think, Saturday or Sunday, comes out and says, like, why are we still talking about this? We need to move on. And that doesn't work either. And then over the weekend, we also get reporting that Bongino and Pam Bondi, the deputy FBI director and the head of the Department of Justice, the attorney general, have clashed at the White House, and Bongino didn't come to work on Friday because of that clash. So there's a lot going on here. And, Donald Trump does not want to talk about this. Now, you could say he doesn't want to talk about this because he's actually on the client list and the client list exists. And, I don't know any of that. I'm a little skeptical there is a client list at all. I think there's a list of people who flew on Jeffrey Epstein's plane, but that list includes, Bill Clinton and Bill Richardson, the late New Mexico governor, and yes, Donald Trump and lots of Alan Dershowitz, lots of other people. But just flying on the guy's plane does not implicate you, right? And if you release a list of people who flew on his plane and that is assumed to be people who participated in the sexual trafficking and sexual exploitation of very young girls, that seems to me to be a dangerous and slippery slope, right? We know Donald Trump flew on this plane, but we also know at one point he was with his very young daughter at the time, Tiffany, and his wife at the time, Marla Maples, and another time he was with his son, Eric, who was young at the time. So it's like flying on the plane does not equal being part of sort of Jeffrey Epstein's criminality and criminal behavior. So that's, I guess I don't buy that piece of it. But regardless of why they've gotten themselves into this mess, they have to figure a way out of this mess. And what do? Well, the options are they can ignore it, right? Which I think they've tried to do. They may keep trying to do that. They may say, like, we've said everything we're going to say. We're not going to talk about it anymore, and it'll go away. It might. I mean, it certainly hasn't gone away yet, but it might go away. It is the summer, though. I always say this to people. It is the summer. Summers are slow news cycles in general, right? The Congress is out of session, not that much going on. And so people want a story to latch onto, and this may be the story of the summer. It could be, just saying. Second option, you take some kind of action to effectively shelve it. You form a committee, or you name a special counsel, and you let the special counsel dig into it for months and months and months, and you assume that they won't find anything, and their report will back up what the DOJ and the FBI have already said, right? Again, that is a real step, right? Forming a special counsel or naming a special counsel is a real step that says, okay, we didn't get this right the first time, and we're going to appoint someone to look into it more. I don't think Pam Bondi wants to do that. I don't think Kash Patel, the head of the FBI, wants to do it. I don't think Donald Trump wants to do it, but maybe they feel compelled to do it. The other thing is you just release everything. The third option, you release everything that's there. I don't know that they can do that, because I do think you get into dangerous territory where it's like, just because someone was friends with a scummy guy like Jeff, scummy is the word I'm choosing because this is a PG rated video, but just because someone was friends with Jeff Epstein or palled around with him in social circles does not mean they took part in his depravities, right? It does not mean they engaged in illegal behavior. And so I think it's hard to release everything if it's just a bunch of names of people who flew on his plane, right? And so those are the options as I see it. You know, I think they're going to go with ignore, then special counsel if they have to. I don't think they're going to release everything. I mean, we'll see. But look, this is already a much bigger problem than Donald Trump wants it to be, right? And I think the issue he has is, even if they did release everything, and it showed that Epstein killed himself and there was no client list, I don't know if that would satisfy people, candidly. Like, they, and by that I mean Bondi and Bongino and Trump and Kash Patel and everybody else, not everybody, but lots of other people in the Trump orbit, have spent years stoking conspiracy theories, right, about the left, that the left is, you know, pedophiles with Pizzagate, and the left is engaged in all this depraved behavior. And so then they get in power and they say, oh, actually, with Epstein, there was no there. People aren't going to believe it, because if you believe in a conspiracy theory and you've been told that the conspiracy theory is true for years and years and years, you're just going to find a way to fit that denial into the broader conspiracy theory, right? And I think that's what's going on at some level here with Trump and Bongino and Bondi and Kash Patel, right? They have stoked conspiracy theory thinking for so long that no one is going to even believe them when they say there's no there. So again, I do think you're in danger of, if you're Trump, of seeing this become a much broader and longer story than you want. The question you have to decide, and I think they probably decide this week, is twofold. One, how do you approach it? Ignore, special counsel, release everything. Second, do you get rid of someone in relation to this, right? Is Bongino gone? Like, by the end of this week, do they get rid of Dan Bongino? Do they say, like, it wasn't handled well, fight in the White House, we're not having that? It doesn't seem like he's getting rid of Pam Bondi. He just put out that long, true social post defending her. But what is the action that is taken? And if you take an action, that extends the story, right? If Bongino gets fired or resigns or whatever this week, well, then the story is guaranteed to last this entire week, because it's like, well, why did he resign? Is there more there? Et cetera, et cetera. So there's just a lot going on here. It is amazing to me they've let it get to this point, that they mishandled it this badly in terms of the release, in terms of how they talked about the conspiracy theory before. I mean, they probably sowed the seeds so much that they couldn't keep them from growing. So when you come out and say, oh, actually, it's no problem here, everything's totally fine, people aren't going to believe it no matter what. But man, they are in a pickle. That's a technical term. So stay tuned. I think it will be the big story of this week. And the things to watch: how do they handle it? Number one, if at all, ignore, special counsel, release everything. And then, does Dan Bongino have a job at the end of the week? And then how does he handle it if he doesn't? All right, that's all from me. I ask you to do one thing. Just hit that subscribe button. You'll get free content, and I'll get another subscriber, which helps me become an independent news creator par excellence. All right, everyone, take care.